So if that means we're going to get Matt and Trey and the team working on a South Park game and it's only a 15-hour game, awesome.
I think it's actually a nail in the coffin for the BioShock franchise. One of Take-Two's strengths as a company is also one of their greatest weaknesses.
Every 4 months we have 2 new leagues. One of them is softcore, one of them is hardcore, and one of them is called Ambush, the other is Invasion. They both have sort of new and interesting properties about them.
It's clear that this wasn't planned. And I think this is a response to PlayStation 4 sales.
I feel like I've kind of outgrown MMOs and the concept of the gameplay of it, whereas like the only reason I was playing City of Heroes as much as I was because of my guild.
Kaz is going to figure it out, and he definitely gets a game business, and I think he's holding the game business accountable to being very profitable because it's a big profit center for them.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, wow. Boobies. Must have. Must touch. Boobies.
So literally all you've played is just a stream, and just that 1 hour, you haven't touched it at all.
But I've seen you play a ton of it. You know, like I heard you laugh outside my office, so I'd run out and
So you'd
see
run out and check it out?
I beat it.
You beat it?
Yep.
Congratulations,
I'm
Jeremy.
done. So
how long did it take you? Did it only take you 5 hours?
I have no idea. Because I was like just doing other things around my house, and a fight would happen. I would just get up, walk away, make some Cheez-Its, come back 25 minutes later. Like, I was not paying attention.
It's an easy game to walk away from.
Yeah, I mean, any of the combat sections, or yes, you could easily walk away from it.
The quickest way to the kingdom to the north is through the Lost Forest. Head north, then north again, north, and then north.
Here's the funny thing. My save file on my first playthrough said 11 hours, I believe, if you look at your save file at the bottom. But on Steam, it told me I'd played for 23 hours. So, but obviously Steam counts like time that you're idle and everything.
Right.
I don't think I was idle for 10 hours. So I think it's somewhere in between. I was like guessing around like 15 hours.
It took me like 5 days of kind of good long sessions to beat it. It's, I don't know. I don't know what people want. I want, as a fan of South Park, the things I want are Matt and Trey to work on a South Park game. So if that means we're going to get Matt and Trey and the team working on a South Park game and it's only a 15-hour game, awesome. Totally in. The problem is we've looked at how this has happened before. You get not the South Park team to work on a South Park game. It's not a very good game. Who cares how long it is if it's not a good game? Like, I don't know. The whole thing just confuses me.
Yeah, it did not feel, in a good way, it felt like a way longer than 10 or 15 hours. Like, however long it took me to finish it, it felt way longer than that. And I think that's because it does such a great job of being representative of South Park, the show, and feeling like the show, and looking like the show, and the writing being incredibly funny and crossing a lot of lines, but to me in a good way. That was what I cared about most. And when you watch one of those 20, 25-minute episodes, and you watch like a few of those, like this felt longer than actually an entire season of South Park. I felt like I got like a season or more's worth of like content in this game, and that's what my experience was with that game. Is an interactive version of the show. It nailed it on that aspect, and it felt long. Like even on playing through it the second time, I was like, dang, it took this long to get through this, and I know what to do. It feels, I think people need to stop focusing on the time played from the reviews and actually play it for themselves, and I think they'll walk away feeling a little bit better about that, honestly.
Do you unlock any other big maps other than that initial town?
You do have the whole town unlocked at the beginning. There are a few areas you just can't go to, like you can't go into the sewers right away. So the game's broken into days, essentially, and that feels like the episodes. Mm-hmm. And on the first completion of the first day, you get abducted by aliens. So you go up to the alien spaceship, then you crash land at the end into South Park, and that changes the landscape a bit.
Oh, cool.
Like there's like debris around and new parts open. You go to Canada at one point as well. And that's locked off till near the end. And that is a completely different part of the game. They did a nice thing. I won't spoil it, but that was a highlight of the game, was going to Canada.
Sorry, but I don't know what this says. I've seen this language before, but I believe it's only spoken in a specific part of Canada. I suggest you travel west of here and seek out the Earl of Winnipeg. He can tell you where in Canada they speak this freakish tongue.
Well,
So,
I think it actually really benefits from being 2D. Like, as forced 2D as that show is, they can really recreate it. Like, you could never recreate The Simpsons, or like Naruto's come really close. But at the same time, it's like, while the world looks like it, it doesn't look like the show. Like, the show would be multiple different camera angles and action shots and stuff like that. Whereas South Park, it's like, this is it. Like, even when I'm doing gameplay, even in the turn-based segments, which you think would be completely alien to a game like South Park, it totally works. I can't think of many other shows that could make this transition that seamlessly. I almost thought it was a joke when I read it in the review, where you're like, it's one of the most seamless transitions between a show and a game. And I was like, oh, haha, because it's South Park. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, it probably is. Because it's all the voices, it's the writers. It's all the elements. That they obviously didn't have to recreate everything. Just kind of like poured it in. So as an RPG, you play lots of role-playing games. I mean, let's get into the mechanics here. Like, from just playing like an hour, 10 minutes of the game, it seemed like it was pretty straightforward as far as like, this item is better than this one, this class uses these types of items. Like, is it a good RPG?
To clarify on the actual classes at the beginning, I believe that only affects the 4 unique abilities you can power up throughout the game. Like, I picked the Jew class at first, so I started with the Sling of David.
You can't say it without laughing, right?
The Sling of David was the first ability I started to use, and you get like Circumscythe, and then you get the Plagues of Egypt. Whereas I saw you playing, you had the mage, you had like the Dragon Breath move, so you had like different attacks. But it seems like you can equip any kind of item. The first set of items you have to buy at the very beginning for that first card, like go buy an item. That, I think, is restricted out to your class. But after that, unless the game just caters to the items you can only use, everything I saw, whether there was like a sword, a mace, a wand, my class could equip that with like no problem whatsoever. And so for that regard, the game's not very complicated, I'll say. It seems like it dumps a lot on you, and I would say the most complicated thing is probably the modifications to your weapon and gear, which are really important in making the game, even if you want to make the game incredibly easy. I didn't think the game was that difficult in particular. Even if you lose, like we were doing on the stream, when you lose, you just go to visit the Mormons in heaven, and then you reload to your nearest checkpoint, which is like a few seconds away, or sometimes right at the boss or enemy you just died at. So that was never an issue. I don't think the game is meant to be challenging in that way. There is a hardcore difficulty. It isn't that much more difficult. I think the point was they made the pacing of battles never felt like there was excessive grinding. It felt like you were always in a battle that you enjoyed. It was going at a great pace, and it lent itself well to making that realistic feel of the show. You didn't feel bogged down in these RPG mechanics that tend to hold some other games back. We would have held this game back, but people might have looked for like something like, I don't know, a lengthier or more meaty RPG.
Right.
That's not that's what you're gonna get here. You're gonna get like a very decent RPG system.
I mean, it's also like a game about little kids playing D&D, like LARPing.
Yeah,
so like
that's
the
the whole thing,
rules
yeah.
kind of change throughout the game. Not how you play, but like the mythology. Like they fuck with it throughout the game. So it's a bunch of little kids playing, right? It's really me coming up to you going, bam, 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 bam. But oh, I got hit a lot. Like, so they play that way. It feels like.
But there's still like a fine line between that, and that's what I really like about the show. That there's some things, there's some items that they wear. Them like, that's a sweet looking helmet. I wonder where they got that. Like there's the episode where they got like the ninja weapons.
Fun with weapons.
There are things that they do, some spells that they do that like actually look like magic, or some big like summons or something. And then at the same time, like the dragon's breath that I had was just a firecracker that they would use. I like when some guys lose, they don't die. They're just like, screw this, and they walk out of the fight. Like that's so great.
Yeah, I'm going home. Like, it's
It
very little kid.
all sticks to lore of the show, and it feels believable within the confines of the show. Like even like Butters, when he gets his unique ability to transform into Professor Chaos, and he walks out there, because we all know in the show like this is like how Butters envisions himself.
Right.
But in the battle system, it's like no, that comes to like fruition. Like you are actually Professor Chaos. You do this incredible attack, then you return back to normal Butters, which is hilarious. But
well, it's even right. Like it's like your icon for your character doesn't look anything like
I
you.
noticed that, yeah.
Like I played a mage, and it looks like I'm like God with like long gray hair and this big beard, and like because that's how I'm this awesome battle mage. That's how me as a 4th grader pictures myself.
I also liked in the battle system, while we're talking about that, just that it is kind of timed inputs, that extra layer. I think if they didn't have that, the battle system would have been way too simplistic.
The game would have been, and you have to have those moments where it's timed. There's reactionary time, because you get to use those items before each battle or before each move in the battle. You could use an item, you could heal yourself, and then you could still fight. So not having those moments where you have to hit X at the right time would make the game feel way too easy.
They also gave you the ability to use like an item or one of your secondary class-specific, like Butter's like healing hand. You can use one of those, and then you could still make an offensive move. So you could take like a defensive maneuver and an offensive attack.
I beat the game. I'm still missing a ton of gear and weapons. And still some friends. Like I found all the chimp Pokemon, I found all the homeless people. I think I have 99 friends, so I'm trying to figure out if is it one more I'm missing?
There's yeah.
How do you know how many were
like
there
my
total?
first playthrough, I didn't even get the Mr. Hanky stuff. Like I
got him.
I missed that, and then the second playthrough, I was like, oh damn, I didn't get these.
Did I miss Big Gay Al on that phone call?
If you didn't get that phone call, that is a friend.
God damn it. Okay, that's what I thought, and I couldn't figure out how to like answer the phone. How do you answer that phone?
You just walk up to it and push A.
Oh motherfucker!
And then
I was like trying to
request.
shoot it at first, and it only rings like twice because you're not tall enough to like actually touch the button.
Yeah, I think
when you get to that point of the game, just run up to it and press A. You'll know what I'm talking about.
And you'll like that part of the game.
Fuck.
I
can't believe it. So that's the one I missed.
Wow.
Then.
That seemed pretty straightforward.
No, I think it was, and I was just like, I was cracking up about something else and not really paying attention, and
it's hard to focus at that part.
And it's like, you've never had to answer a phone before, so it's just like, I don't know how, do I need to run up to that? And by the time, it only rings twice.
I didn't know that. I answered it right away.
Yeah, it rings twice, and I wasn't paying attention. I was like, God damn it, and I tried to run over to it, and it was too late.
Yeah, he's trying to get a hold of Mr. Slave.
I assume so. I mean, I assumed I knew where that was going.
Yeah.
Just angry I didn't pick it up.
Ooh, Jesus. Hello?
Recently, Michael, a couple things have happened in the industry, and we just, we want to pick your brain. So, Ken Levine and Irrational has dissolved at this point, and Ken is now taking a team of 15 and creating a digital-only game, something much smaller. What do you think that means for the industry?
For the industry, nothing unless Ken does something so frame-breaking and so ridiculously successful that everybody else emulates. If it's, Ken just taking a stab at storytelling in a different way, and Ken is fine if they sell, a small $15 game and do 1 million units sold and they make modest profit. I mean, that's a great deal for 15 people. Then it won't move the industry needle at all. I think what it really says is you got Ken, who's a 40-something-year-old guy who's been doing this for 20 years, and I think he's tired. And I think he just came off of a bear of a project, which, if you played the game, was a work of art. And I think he's just tired and he's burned out, and he's not the first guy to do this. I think it's kind of common for guys who get to be up there, 40-something, and have been doing the same thing for 20 years to want to try something different. And he will pull it off. Whatever he does is going to be great. And I don't think he cares if it sells 1 million units or 20 million units. I think he's just trying to create something that's really fun.
Do you think it's a nail in the coffin for the...
I think it's actually a nail in the coffin for the BioShock franchise. I think that one of Take-Two's strengths as a company is also one of their greatest weaknesses, and that is that they allow the developers there to have complete control over IP. And I think that makes the developers so integral to the success of the IP that if you swap out a developer, the product's just not going to be the same. I think I read, and I think they told me, 500 developers total and artists have worked on the Assassin's Creed franchise. Like that, that isn't one studio. That's like 5 different 100-person studios. And I don't know if you play Assassin's Creed, but each one seems better than the one before. You know, they've, maybe except for Brotherhood. They've done a pretty good job. You know, it's like there's this, it feels like the same game because there's enough of the same people working on it, but there isn't any person that is identified with the franchise that is so essential that, you know, Patrice Désilets left and the game was fine. You know, it doesn't really matter. So I like that studio model better from a financial perspective because I think investors don't want to take the risk of, you know, the one person getting upset and petulant and leaving. But you can't argue with Take-Two's success. Grand Theft Auto does just fine with the same guys working on it every time. So, you know, there's 2 different ways to approach it. I think that probably the greater financial success is the games that you don't know who the developer is. But so we care about Ken because he's so closely identified with the BioShock brand.
Hi, I'm Rob, and I'm here with Jonathan and Chris, and we're talking Path of Exile, and specifically Sacrifice of the Vaal. So for people who aren't familiar with Path of Exile, what is this game?
So Path of Exile is an online action RPG. We've got a focus on deep character customization, and we're targeting a sort of hardcore PC audience, so, you know, we like to keep the game challenging.
So when you say hardcore, some of the stuff is really complicated and deep, kind of like the skill system that you have.
Yeah, we've tried to make the game as accessible as possible for new players, but there's a ton of depth under the surface. So the skill system, for example, the individual skills aren't that difficult to master, but there are so many different ways you can combine them with support gems, combine them with other skills potentially, and there's an awful lot of combinations of different skills you can have, especially when you consider our passive skill tree that has, I think, 1,400 nodes now as of this mini expansion.
And then the active skills are a completely different system, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, so the active skills are things you can link together. The passive skills are things you can't. And those sort of, you know, those are the different areas of character customization. You know, we found that players really love, you know, being able to use a system that has so much depth. And, you know, they come up with interesting builds all the time. You know, they like to stream them and so on. That's really cool.
Now, there's so many different combinations of skills. Do the players ever surprise you with the builds that they come up with?
Yeah, there are some crazy builds. We see people they'll pick a skill not for what it's meant for, but for some side effect, and then they'll just use that as a way of combining it with other skills. I mean, there was a build that we saw recently where a player would use this shield charge skill to dart into a group of monsters, using it entirely so that he can set the whole lot on fire at once, which has nothing to do with the fact he hit them with the shield, but entirely to do with the damage bonus it gives while charging.
What is Sacrifice of Vaal?
So Sacrifice of the Vaal is a mini expansion. We're adding a bunch of content. We're adding it all through the game. Overall, it rounds out a lot of areas that we thought we were slightly lacking in, and generates a whole bunch of new content for players to play as well.
And one of the things that you're putting in are some new leagues. Now, before we talk about the new leagues, what exactly are the leagues in the game?
So leagues are basically game modes that you can play in, and each one has a self-contained economy. So when you start a new league, it's a place that players can play where they've got a fresh new ladder, they've got fresh new items to find, and everyone's on a level playing field. So every 4 months we try to start a pair of new leagues, one for normal players and one for hardcore players. And it's a place which causes a lot of people to return to the game and to play the leagues feverishly for a few months, and then they're looking forward to the next set. For the players who don't like to play one long-term character for year after year, basically.
Just like every 4 months, we have 2 new leagues. One of them is softcore, one of them is hardcore, and one of them is called Ambush, the other is Invasion. They both have sort of new and interesting properties about them.
I'm going to be playing the more casual one. What's in that new league for me?
So the Ambush League has a variety of chests that you can find throughout the game that ambush you when you open them. And these are quite a lot more extravagant chests than normal. When you open them, a group of 10 monsters spawns around you in a circle. Now the cool thing about these chests is you can craft different mods onto them using the same crafting system that the game has built in for items. So you can kind of spend some of your currency items that you find to make the encounters more challenging rather than improving your gear. And of course the reason you're doing this is because the better the chests are, the better the drops, and you might get something lucky from them.
It comes out when?
March 5th.
And how much is it going to cost me?
It's completely free, like the core game. There's absolutely no sale of content going on here. The only thing that we charge for are cosmetic, aesthetic microtransactions. They just change how your skills look, how your character looks. You get to dress up a little bit. And that's proven incredibly successful with our audience. They love supporting us and really like making their characters look distinct.
I was talking to one of the guys here at the office, and he described it as free to play, but not in an evil way.
Yeah, I mean, we try to call our system ethical microtransactions because we really don't like the kind of selling of power, selling of X potions and that kind of thing. We're not a fan of that.
It's just not really compatible with a competitive game like this. If your players are racing up the leaderboard and having fun showing off the items they found, it would kind of defeat the purpose if they could buy those.
Can't wait to see the new expansion. We're going to be playing it here at the office. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much.
The Titanfall Xbox One bundle was recently announced, and with the game coming out soon, what are your thoughts on this bundle for $500 in the free game?
It's clear that this wasn't planned. Microsoft does a Call of Duty skin for every Call of Duty, launch, and they do a Call of Duty Special Edition controller. They did it for Gears of War, which is a first-party title. They absolutely would have done this with Titanfall if this had been planned all along. And I think this is a response to PlayStation 4 sales. I think that Microsoft recognizes that they're behind and they don't want to be behind. And this is the most expedient way for them to, get a price cut, take something people really want to have and give it to them for free. It's going to move the needle. 500,000 more people will buy an Xbox One because of the bundle. I think it's smart. But I don't know if it's lasting. We'll see, because once Titanfall is played out in 3 or 4 months, then what? Do you do it with every game? Do you cut the price, or do you go back to $500 for just a standalone box with Kinect? Sony is winning, I think, largely because they're priced less. I think that there's a large number of consumers who won't even compare the specs of the two boxes if the price difference is $100. And I think that's what's going on with a lot of people, PlayStation 4 versus Xbox One. It plays high definition next gen games. It's got to be good. So I think Microsoft doesn't want to be behind. I think Microsoft has convinced itself that the value of the Xbox One justifies the high price, but I think they have as yet to convince consumers of that. And so I think they have to discount, and one way to discount is to give you more stuff in the box for free at the same price. That's effectively a discount. I think that what they should have done is they should have given a year of Xbox Live away as well. I think that would get every single Xbox Live member would run out and buy an Xbox One. And right now, I think a lot of Xbox Live members are buying PS4s and joining PlayStation Plus instead. So I think that once you lose that guy, you lose that $50 a year, $60 a year forever. I think that Microsoft would be really smart to keep those people. So that is my prediction for the next big thing they do, which will be next year.
I guess we're the 4 biggest MMO nerds in the office right now.
Now that some dear friends have departed the workspace, I would say that's probably true. But I think we've all played a diverse number of them. But I think the bigger question is, are we actively playing any of them right now?
I'm semi-actively playing EVE Online.
You are?
Wow.
But
That's awesome. Are you embezzling money?
Not yet. I hope to.
Okay.
I hope to one day. It's really tough to stick with it because it's on paper it should be a great game. I mean, emergent gameplay, players gathering resources to build ships and stuff like that. It's all a player-based economy. I should love it. The problem is that it's really tough to get into.
You read about all these stories about EVE Online, right? These massive, massive space battles, and you're like, wow, that sounds like the greatest, most complex thing ever. But getting to that point seems like, once you're actually in it and once you're actually playing the game, seems almost impossible. But that's kind of cool, right? That you have to work towards something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work really, really hard at it, but it sounds so much, I hate to say this, it sounds better than it is.
Yeah.
Like the massive space battles, time dilation. And so it's like watching a really slow, real-time strategy game, or like a real-time strategy game on a really, really lousy computer, where everything's just moving at a single frame rate at a time and stuff like that.
I think that's the legacy of Warcraft, is that, like, you look at the old games like Final Fantasy XI or EverQuest, and these games were punishing. You know, if you died, you lost experience. the early versions of WoW, I think in the beta that even happened, but then it was just like durability on your stuff. And WoW's always been about giving you stuff, empowering you.
Right.
And I think that's kind of been the trend for most of the games. I think the really good example was the SOE version of Star Wars, not the Old Republic, but Galaxies, where it was like one person became, what, Force sensitive originally.
Jedi Knight, yeah.
Yeah, one person in the entire like million population was given just the tiniest chance to become a Jedi.
Yeah.
And then the Old Republic comes out and it's like, we have 40 million Jedis with full voice acting.
I remember playing WoW when, you know, your mount wasn't till 40, I
Yeah.
think it was.
Yep.
Your mount was until 40 and it was going to cost you 5 gold and you couldn't find gold even once you got to level 40 because it was so expensive or something crazy like
yeah,
that.
it was 100 gold. And I
100
remember
gold.
when I hit level 40 and I had to sell off everything else. I had to sell off all my cloth and all
Yeah.
that stuff. No, I did. I
No,
had all
I
this
mean,
cloth
silk and, yeah.
That lucrative tailoring
Yeah,
skill,
yeah.
I know. I know
Tailoring was
about
the
it.
only way you made money.
Exactly.
cloth.
Yeah, I was making bags and selling them on. I had to make a bunch of bags and sell them
On
in
the
the
auction.
auction. So I finally got my 100 gold and I bought a horse and I just rode the horse all
Right.
around like it was a motorcycle.
And then it was like, and then it's
Now
like
there's
what,
actually a
level
motorcycle.
20,
Now
and like
they are,
it's
right?
easy, and
Yeah.
you get gold in the training, like it, and you know, it's just.
You played a ton of City of Heroes.
Yeah.
And that didn't really have an economy. Oh yeah, and you're wearing some special shirt.
Dauntless. Sorry, I have a guild that I've been like a
that
part
one
of
was
for
actually
years.
that one was actually, you know, that was a contemporary of World of Warcraft. I mean, World of Warcraft's the 800-pound gorilla.
Right.
But it did a lot of things much differently. It had the character customization. It
Yeah.
didn't really have a normal economy. Like you had to combine little weird drops to get stuff.
No, you still had economy because you could spend it on costumes, better outfits. You
Right.
know, I mean, character customization was really like the big element that was the main draw for a lot of people for City of Heroes because really no two heroes were alike. And I still have yet to see an MMO since that has that kind of creative freedom because you're always starting out as the same cast with the same loincloth and the same this, where it's like, I have friends where we would spend 2 hours in the initial character creation screen just designing and then like trying to figure out a character name or having a character name and having to design the hero that went with it. And like,
Would you still be playing City of Heroes right now, do
Absolutely.
you think? Or would you still have an account? There's a difference.
I would still have an account. My account never went away, and I logged in for the last week before it was shut down, like most of my guildmates. And the thing is, you know, and this is one of the reasons this whole conversation decided to get brought up is I feel like I've kind of outgrown MMOs and the concept of the gameplay of it. Whereas like the only reason I was playing City of Heroes as much as I was because of my guild and like the people I was meeting and hanging out with that are, because MMOs in that time were kind of like the big multiplayer that you did do. You know, you either had Halo on your consoles or your Call of Duties or you had your MMOs. There wasn't really that ability to have a community in between. You know, there wasn't the League of Legends of the time. It was
Or the Minecraft servers.
or the Minecrafts or the DayZs or the, you know, so it's just sort of like,
Is that the Doctor Who making you say Zeds or something?
when I say DayZ, it makes me think of the flower, which is so
Okay.
not, so I have to say DayZ.
You talk about outgrowing MMOs, and I really think that's interesting. And I have to ask, something that's made me less interested in MMOs over time, even though I think Final Fantasy XIV is really well done, is the ones that have sizable communities are really descendants of WoW. And I don't mean that in a complimentary sense, right? Like, it was so domineering over MMO design that having spent like thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in WoW, you know, it's just increasingly diminishing returns. And the games that are significantly different from WoW don't have sizable enough populations to remain interesting over
Right.
a period of time. Like, is this just what we're cursed to have, you know, forever? Now, is it just going to be like slightly different variations on WoW, or are we actually going to see something new and exciting?
I think the Minecraft and the DayZ, those harken back to Ultima Online, which I don't
Right.
think anyone here did you play it?
I played it, but I had no idea what I was doing.
And I'm talking about the original, where it was like
Right.
complete persistence, which is what you get kind of in a Minecraft server when you can go over and destroy someone's house. And to a degree, I think DayZ has a lot of that as well. But again, those are more twitchy action games, but maybe that's what we need as well. I think, you know, you were mentioning like multiplayer games right now, and I think there was this idea of going really, really big for a long time. And like right around the corner, like Titanfall, you know, is only going to be 6-on-6, and I think we're probably getting to a point now where we've lived in this like this macro for so long that maybe things are going to be brought in and be a little more local, a little more manageable, and have those more intimate things. And I think that could go even with MMOs.
What, towards the line of like Guild Wars?
Well, Guild Wars is a really particular little guy. It's so good, and it's so, I want to use the word non-addictive. I was able to walk away from that game
That's
so
true.
much more easily. Like, I was playing Secret World, which would have been a much better as a single-player game, just from like a play experience, but it was still
Secret
addictive.
World had
Even
that
though-
balance
even
of
though-
like
even
getting
though
your
it- even
party
though it
and
was
then
kind
going
of-
into an
Even though it was
instance.
kind of crappy, it was like, I'm going to do it again, going to do it again,
Right.
going to do it again. Well, Guild Wars is like, I'm going to go have fun over here, going to have fun over
Right.
here. I can walk away. And I don't know if that, we talked about this, like, I don't know if it's the loot, because Secret World didn't really have loot either.
Something that
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2 prides itself on is it does away with the holy trinity, right? You have your tank, your DPS, and your healer, and any character is a lot more versatile, right? So you're not getting into those situations as often where it's like looking for tank.
Right.
But as much as I kind of want to get away from those roles, I really think there's something to them, and I'm going to use Mike Damiani as my anecdote here.
Well, I get a chart.
Yeah, the internet in our apartment goes out every night, at least once. And normally, Mike doesn't care. He'll just leave his room and come and reset the router, and he might groan a little bit. When he's raiding in Final Fantasy XIV, he will like scream and curse and slam doors. And the reason why
What's he do to the cats?
Nothing. The cats just get scared. The reason why I'm using him as an example is because he feels like he's letting his team down, like he's doing
for
something
sure.
that only they can get. So, do you think like that's the appeal of an MMO? Is you sort of get into this role where you feel like my team needs me, only I can do this sort of thing. Does that make
Totally
sense?
is. It's
It
that,
totally
but
is.
yeah.
No, here's the thing. Okay, I got a story time. Story time.
More stories.
Okay, stories. So I'm playing WoW, Burning Crusade,
Okay.
Underbog, 5-man with my guild.
Okay.
Okay, we were going through. Everything was going fine. Took a break for some reason. Okay, we get up to one of the bosses, and we're just about to pull the boss. Okay, my wife walks in the room, and she says, "Rob, we got to talk." And I said, "Can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of something." She said, "Rob, pause the game." I explained to her before. She knows game has no pause. So she says, "Rob, I need to talk to you right now." I look over at her. She's holding a pregnancy test.
Oh God.
And then in my
Who's the
headset,
father?
I hear,
Congratulations.
I hear pulling. Now I'm the healer. They need me.
Oh no.
Okay, so I've got to. I have to decide. Okay, my wife with some fairly important news,
Right.
or my guildmates.
You're a holy priest?
Yes.
Okay.
Important.
Because I was going to say, if you were like a resto druid, they probably weren't going to survive anyway.
Yeah. If it's like a shaman, I just throw down my totems and walk away.
Click follow and
What
yeah.
so what did you choose?
Will Rob choose his wife over the guild? Will Ben realize that his long-lost twin brother is actually his sister? Will Megan fall off the ball? And will Ryan discover a cure before the next full moon? Find out next week on All MMO Children.
Sony Santa Monica just laid off 50 employees. Part of Stig's new IP was canned. Do you think that has any repercussions in the industry?
Sony has a guy at the top who gets the game business, and he's a good business person. And whatever you think of Sony Corporation and its problems, Kaz is going to figure it out, and he definitely gets the game business. And I think he's holding the game business accountable to being very profitable because it's a big profit center for them. So that Sony Studios closure is a business decision. I don't know what the IP was, but somebody who does know and who understands games concluded that it wasn't going to be, financially successful. So they cut their losses before they went too far with the game. And, it's never good to see people out of work or people laid off, but, nobody has a right to employment for life. And if you're not producing something that's going to generate a profit, then, businesses like Sony aren't going to keep you. I don't think that that's a bad signal for the industry or unhealthy for Sony. They've got to do what they've got to do. I think I heard Genova Chen say, at DICE or something, that you know, he was on the verge of declaring bankruptcy, you know, before Journey, and you know what they'd seen the work on Journey, and they funded him kind of grudgingly at the last second because they thought it would be commercially successful. Had they not thought it would be successful, they would have pulled the plug on him too. So, you know, and he's one of the most talented guys out there. So it can happen to anybody. It's business, and it's unfortunate. I think that gamers don't recognize that things that they love can only happen if there's a profit in it. And so if you really, really love something, you got to support it. You got to pay for it. And you know, you're not going to get a game from Stig if it isn't going to be profitable.
We really got stuck on 4 versus 9. 4 versus 9.